Blake, great to catch up with you once again.
Always good to see you, Mike.
Okay, your thoughts on the Joe Biden's infrastructure, quote, fiasco?
I'm a big fan of infrastructure. I'd rather buy things with our taxpayer dollars than put it to some nebulous program. So I like buying hard assets. So I support him on part of it. But there's as we expected, there's a whole lot of fluff in there, and there's other programs and climate change things that aren't really the core infrastructure. And I didn't count. I couldn't keep track of all of them, but I think he and others used union, at least 25 times during the speech, and unions have their place, but they also drive up the cost of construction quite a bit. And so to only use union labor, which seems to be his focus, is going to drive the costs up. So I think you use any and all means to do quality work, but also keep the costs under control. So you don't have to use 100% union labor.
How does it feel going from a free market to a socialist economy?
Yeah, we kind of thought that it may happen with some of the candidates. Maybe we thought it would be a little bit less with Biden, but he's certainly singing from the socialist hymn book here, I think.
What's the consensus of GDP growth for 2021 and 2022?
Well, there's actually two figures. One is the nominal, and the other is the real number. And so the nominal includes inflation factor. So there's projected about 2% inflation, which I think is woefully lower than it will be based on everything else that's happening over here. But they're talking about 6.3% in 2021, and then I believe it goes to 4.9. Now those are the grossed up numbers because there's 2% inflation in there. Roughly, on a real basis, it's 4.6 and 2.9. Now that's the Congressional Budget Office numbers, which usually are reasonably accurate.
We talked many times about impending inflation, which will happen. How do you think that inflationary impact will impact workers, home buyers, business owners, retirees, for example?
Yeah, you have a certain faction that is applauding a $15 minimum wage, and as I've said before, $15 is probably too low in big metropolitan areas like New York City and Los Angeles, but is way over the top in places like Des Moines, Iowa. And so I think if they do drive it up to that level, you can't help but drive up consumer prices, and so that those people that are getting that raise may see it eaten up real quickly by the cost of their necessities that they're buying, including rent. So anyway, it's I just think it's an unsustainable game to drive those up and just pick a magic number like $15.
It's pretty interesting with the Biden administration certainly making life interesting, especially if you're a CPA or you're in business. And even with climate change being the climate emergency, which is pure bunkum to say the least, AOC apparently came out to say that the reason why the influx of immigrants is because of climate change.
Yeah, I don't know. The pictures that I've seen of the border accommodations looks like you'd be living in a greenhouse. People packed on top of each other. It doesn't look real comfortable. So I don't know how long they'll use that as an excuse for them coming north.
Looking at the immigration, it's going to put some real stress on your social security system. and it's probably heading towards big problems, if not already. How bad is it, and what are the potential fixes?
Well, yeah, it's projected to run out of kind of the reserve funds in the mid 2030s, say 2035. And while tax collections, Social Security tax collections will cover about 70 to 75%, there's going to be, at least a 25% shortfall from 2035 roughly on. And so that's going to either be a drop of 25% in benefits, or you're going to have to drive up the tax collections on the Social Security system to compensate for that. So it's not looking real good for the next 15 years, how that's going to pan out.
One wonders though, this is just going 4 years from now basically, if there's a change of administration, and just say, for example, Republicans get back in, whether it's Donald Trump or DeSantis or anybody, they're going to have a different view and a different approach to what's being done now. These upheavals, before Biden, we had Trump, and we had a lot of business encouragement. You have under Biden, it's more like, well, we're going to just drop back a bit, look after the poor, which is nothing wrong with that, but you've got to make sure you can do it without hurting what makes the economy tick over. So you get into this sort of cocoon almost, being bashed around the head with cotton wool earbuds or something, but you're still being bashed around the head. And then you change it, say, back to the Republicans. Can business sustain? Because you've got to plan way ahead. Can business sustain, though, from one administration with one attitude to another one with this draconian attitude to, say, maybe a more positive one with the Republicans? What happens to business? How do you plan?
Yeah, it's, as you say, if you want, I think it was Ronald Reagan that said, if you want less of something, then tax it. And so if you want less domestic manufacturing, then you drive up corporate taxes. And we already have seen, in the first 60 days of the new administration, you've seen, one or two of the automakers, announce that they're going to move some of their production, I think, back to Mexico. Whereas when you saw Trump come in, as soon as he put in the 2017 Tax Act, you saw a bunch of foreign manufacturing from U.S. companies move back into the U.S. So, it takes a little while on some of this stuff because you're talking about whole factories and things, but sometimes it's just firing up an old one. So you're going to see a lot of change as these laws come out. And what I will say is, I'm bashing the program a little bit here, but I have to say, from a selfish standpoint, the CPA industry will thrive as a result of jacking up the taxes and just making the tax laws even more complex than they are. So we're going to be plenty busy for the next 4 years.
So Blake, if somebody wants to find out more about HCVT.com or Blake Christian CPA, how do they do that?
Easiest way is just Google HCVT or Blake Christian CPA, and all of our contact information will come up.
Blake Christian, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.